Hi, Vanessa here and welcome to my channel. Today I wanted to share with you all the books that I read in August. If you're new, please subscribe and don't forget to stay to the end for the book quote of the day. In August, I felt pretty lucky because some of the titles I had put on hold on my Libby app I had access to. And if you're not familiar with the Libby app, it's an app that connects to your local library and it has access to their online database so that you can check out their online digital books and audiobooks for free. I did do a full video on it, so I'll link it below so you can start reading for free as well. And that's how I got my hands on Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. This book was on the New York Times bestselling list for 48 consecutive weeks, and it's also a Reese Witherspoon's book club pick as well. Delia Owens is a wildlife scientist, and this is her debut novel. She shares a story with us in the 1950s about a little girl named Kaya who lives in the swamp, also known as the marsh, with her family. Unfortunately, they all abandon her one by one until she's left with rejection, confusion, and fear. She lives in a shack, and she kind of has to learn how to fend for herself. This book is broken into two perspectives, the first being in the past, where we get to know Kaya and learn how her survival instincts kick in, and we spend a lot of time alone with her. There's a heavy curtain of loneliness surrounding this part. We learn how she kind of becomes one with the marsh and creates an alternative family, with the animals and just plant life, and how she absorbs the resources to kind of build a life for herself. And then if we move forward into the second perspective, it's in the present day, and Kaya is actually placed on trial for murder. Now, we don't know how the two roads merged, but whereas the first perspective was very loneliness, I feel like the second part is very chaotic and loud, because now we are introduced to the townspeople who actually ridicule Kaya's way of living. They call her the marsh girl, and we kind of see their ugly perspective of her, just judging her based on what they know about the marsh. Some special qualities I thought about this book was, one, that we were able to kind of observe what it would be like if nature raised us. Two, this book is sprinkled with, quotes and poems throughout the book. So whereas, the first part was very lonely, it did reflect on how Kaya was feeling through these poems and quotes. And three, there's just so much educational material that Delia Owens had inserted into the book of things about animal life cycles, plant life, and just the marsh in general. So I thought that was very unique and special. Overall, I thought it was an enjoyable read. I wasn't a huge fan of the ending, but once you discover what Where the Crawdads Sings actually means, it's very fitting that the ending that the author had chosen for the book. The next book I read was After the End by Clare Mackiontosh, and if you think the name sounds familiar, it's because she wrote Let Me Lie, which was very popular, I think either last year or the year before. And that one was a thriller, so I was expecting the same kind of genre, but this one was completely different. After the End, it features Max and Pip, who are a couple that's going through something no parents ever should. Their 2-year-old son was diagnosed with a brain tumor, and he's had surgery and gone through treatments. And they're at this point where the doctors have advised them that there's nothing more that they can do, because they think that the further they go, it will kind of decrease the quality of life their son has, adding to the disabilities that he's already had because of surgery and treatment. Now, they had to make the decision if they were going to seek alternative treatment and therapy, and Max and Pip have a really strong marriage, and their love story is quite endearing. So I was really surprised when they actually disagree. So Max thinks that he wants to push the envelope and try and seek out more surgeries or treatment to prolong his son's life. And Pip does not feel comfortable doing that. She wants to just treasure the time they have with him, and they don't want to put him through any more treatments or surgeries. And when two parents cannot decide, this actually goes to court, and each side has to present their case. So this puts them at odds. Now, where this author really steps it up is that instead of going one route, we actually get to see what it would be like if Max had won the case and how their life would have played out. And if Pip had won her case, how that would have played out. So the author really indulges the reader in this, and we are taking on two different paths, just kind to observing what it would have been like either way. So I thought, you know, that's like writing two separate books, and kudos to Clare Mackiontosh. It was an emotional read, so completely different from her other one, but equally enjoyable as well. The next book I read was An Unwanted Guest by Shari, Lapena, and you'll probably know her from her wildly popular book, The Couple Next Door. This one was a classic whodunit murder mystery. We are introduced to like a random group of guests who don't know each other, and they're, you know, at this country hotel remotely for the weekend, and they're each there for their own reasons. They all have their own backstory, and unfortunately the huge snowstorm hits when they arrive, and the power's out, and they have no Wi-Fi, and that's when the first murder occurs, and the murders continue to occur. So now, you know, the group is kind of freaked out, and they not sure if it's one of them or if it's something more sinister where like a stranger has slipped into the hotel and is causing these murders. So we spend a lot of time from each guest's POV as they make their observations, and as the reader, we're just trying to decipher who the killer might be and what his motives are. This book had a lot of loose ends for me. I think we were teased with a lot of characters' backstory. In the end, the murder was discovered quickly, and I think I wanted a little bit more from each character. I think I had more questions than answers by the end, so it wasn't my favorite Shari Lapena book. And the next book I actually got from my library book haul. Check out that video if you haven't already. I was so lucky to find it on the shelf because I had seen it circulating. It's called Red, White, and Royal Blue by McQuiston, which is a new author find for me. It features Alex, who is the son of the first US female president, and also Henry, who is the prince of the British monarchy, and they're posed as rivals in the beginning, just I guess because of their positions, their similar ages, but as the story goes on, we actually learn that they start to fall in love with each other. And you know, you can imagine how complicated that is because of their positions. Now, Prince Harry always knew that he liked boys, but Alex is just kind of starting to discover himself, his attraction to Henry, and he's just kind of figuring out what he wants to do with that, but with the added pressure of being in such a public eye. So they have to kind of go about their romance secretly. So, you know, that's always fun when they're trying to fly back and forth. And an element I really liked is their email exchanges. It reminded me of like 50 Shades of Grey when they were exchanging like witty, flirty banter via text or emails. And this one is even more elevated than that. This was a fun and flirty read, but the romance is totally PG. Definitely not 50 Shades of Grey, but I also just thought this book was just a tad too long, but whereas the last book didn't flesh out any of the characters, I thought this one really did. I really liked having insights into what it would be like if you did choose a political career, what living in the White House might look like, and also what it could be like if you were a royal. And the last book I read of August was The Art of Racing in the Rain by Stein, which was written in 2008, and I think has been on the New York Times bestselling list for over 100 weeks. It recently resurfaced again because they had made a movie out of it, and I've been actually putting off reading this book because I thought I was going to get emotional from it. I do get emotional when I read dog stories because I am a dog mom of 3. And this story features Enzo, our puppy, who's adopted by Denny, and he's a professional race car driver. We watch the two instantly bond with each other, and the whole story is told through Enzo's perspective. And he is the goodest boy for Denny, and he's there for him during happy times, but Denny seems to have more sad and complicated times than happy times. And we go through Enzo's life as he tries to figure out human emotions and situations, also adding in a lot of dog thoughts as well. There's a lot of emphasis on perseverance and passion in this book, and there's a lot of trigger warnings as well because they do face a lot of hard issues in their family. Overall, I wasn't quite impressed with the book. It didn't raise a lot of emotions in me, but I thought the story was well told, and especially from Enzo's point of view. The ending did make me a teeny bit emotional, and I think I'm actually looking forward to watching the movie as well because I would like to see it visually played out. I can't believe August is over, but I'm really excited for the breezier weather, and September is going to be a fun reading month because I have joined my first readathon called the Scooby-Doo-a-thon. Check out my last video if you want to join in the fun and for the reading prompts as well. As always, I wish you happy reading, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!